Hi, I'm Eric with Simply Elegant Home Cooking. Today I'm going to show you my recipe for crispy duck fat fried baby potatoes. The duck fat gives a really nice flavor and texture to the potatoes. You can see we got some really nice browning. We flavored them up with some garlic, shallots, and thyme. This is easy, but it's very elegant. Stick around. You don't want to miss this recipe. And this is the duck fat that I'm going to be using. This is a popular brand you can find at a lot of high-end grocery stores. If you can't find it, bacon fat is actually the best alternative. And these are the potatoes that I like to use. These are baby gold potatoes, but I'm sure this would work with other types of potatoes too. And I'm cooking for just myself today, so I'm going to use about 8 of them. This is roughly a pound. These are rather large baby potatoes, but you can easily double this recipe if you're going to feed a crowd. So what we're going to do, we're going to cook these potatoes all the way through in some simmering water, and that's going to allow us to get a really creamy interior but a crispy exterior once we go to fry these up in the duck fat. So I have a pot of cold water. I'm going to turn this on to medium high and add in the potatoes. So we just need to wait until this comes up to a simmer, and at that point we're going to start the timer. I'm going to let them go for about 15 or 16 minutes. Okay, and we're getting really close to a simmer. It's almost ready to start the timer, but it's really important to do this like we did, starting with the cold water, bringing it up to temperature gradually, because what that's going to do, it's going to cook the interiors of the potatoes evenly. Okay, so this is what we're looking for, a gentle simmer. I'm going to start the timer, and we're going to monitor these as they go. They're going to go for about 15 to 16 minutes, but we'll know when they're done once a fork can easily pierce into the interior. So I'm going to turn the heat down a little bit. Need to just play around with that as it goes to maintain the simmer. Going to add a little bit of sea salt and give that a big stir. So we're going to let these simmer away. Okay, so we're 15 minutes in. At this point, I'm going to check the potatoes. I'm going to go in with a toothpick, and that's just about done. I'm going to let them go for one more minute, but we want to let it go to where a toothpick can pierce in without much resistance. These are rather large baby potatoes that I'm using, so you might need to adjust your cooking time down a little bit if you use smaller potatoes. And you just want to pour those into a colander to drain them. And we're going to let those drain and cool off for about 5 or 10 minutes. And while we wait on those potatoes to steam a little bit and dry off, we can prep the rest of our ingredients. So I'm going to start with some thyme sprigs. And what you want to do is you just want to use your fingers and strip the leaves off like so. And once you've stripped the leaves, you just want to run a knife through that to chop them up a little bit more finely. And next I have 2 small shallots that I have trimmed and cut in half. We just want to give these a rough chop. And then give them a little bit of a dice. And you just want to dice your shallots up until they look about like that. So that's been plenty of time for our potatoes to cool off. They should be ready to handle. And for cutting up the potatoes, I recommend using a serrated knife. All you want to do is just kind of run that down the middle, lengthwise, and cut them like that. If they fray a little bit, that's fine, but we cooked them the right amount of time, so the potatoes should be tender, but they should not be falling apart. This is the perfect consistency. That's how you want them to look. Okay, so our potatoes have been all sliced up. I'm going to preheat a cast iron skillet on medium heat. Just want to give that a good 5 minutes to come up to full temperature before we add the duck fat and the potatoes in. And as that pan was heating up, I realized I almost forgot the garlic. So I'm going to take 2 cloves of garlic that I've peeled and just crush that up in a garlic press. Okay, and that pan should be ready. So I'm going to go in with about a heaping tablespoon of the duck fat. Just want to move that around a bit to coat the pan. And as that melts, we can add in the potatoes. You just want to add them cut side down. I'm going to turn the heat down just a bit. Okay, so our baby potatoes are now frying away in the duck fat. That's how you want them to look. We're going to let them go about 3 or 4 minutes untouched before we start checking them. So after about 4 minutes, we can check them. So I'm going to flip a few of them over, and you can see that there is some color here, but we're looking for much more browning than that. These are getting there, but they still have a good 2 or 3 minutes to go before we start turning them. Okay, so a few more minutes in, I'm going to check them again and flip them over. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking more of a deep browning. So I'm going to start flipping these over. And as you flip, you'll notice that one's not nearly as done. I'm going to put that back and continue checking them. Okay, so most of them have been flipped. The ones that are still down just need a few more minutes. So I'm just going to keep checking them one by one until they're all ready. Okay, and just 2 left. I'm going to check them, and these look good. So at this point, all of the potatoes have been browned thoroughly on one side. I'm going to kind of clear out a well in the center here and add in the shallots, not the garlic, not the thyme yet. But just going to add that in and give that a little saute. I'm going to turn the heat down all the way to low now at this point. Let this cook for about 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, and now about 2 minutes later, I'm going to add the garlic and give that a big stir. We just wanted to add that very late in the process to avoid burning it. Going to keep that constantly moving. And at this point, I'm going to add some additional seasonings. I'm going to add some pepper. And some salt. Stirring as we go. And these need to just cook for a few more minutes, just about a minute or 2, and this will be ready. And at the very tail end of the process, we're going to add the minced thyme. So I'm going to throw that in and just give this a final stir. I'm going to turn the heat off, and in just a minute or 2, we will be ready to plate these potatoes up. So here's the finished dish, plated up crispy duck fat baby potatoes with garlic, shallot, and fresh thyme. Let me give one a try. So the exterior turned out perfect. You can see we got some really nice browning, crispiness on the exterior, but these are light and creamy on the inside. And the flavor from the duck fat and the fresh herbs, garlic and shallot, it's really, really amazing. So I hope you give this recipe a try. I'm Eric with Simply Elegant Home Cooking. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you again real soon.